So we need to talk about countertransference. When you're a student therapist in grad school, that word can sound a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating. I think as new counselors going into the profession, we need to demystify the concept of countertransference because apparently it happens to everyone. Dear future therapists, I'm Gabriella and welcome to my YouTube channel. So what even is countertransference? Countertransference is basically when a therapist's own emotional world pops up in response to a client's story. Sometimes it's because of their own specific situation, or sometimes it's because it reminds the therapist of something they're carrying around in their own life. It's different from transference, where the client is projecting something onto us. Countertransference is the therapist's stuff, so their personal biases and reactions. Fun little psych history fact, the concept of countertransference was first introduced by Sigmund Freud in the 1900s. Freud initially viewed countertransference as problematic. Essentially, that a therapist's unresolved issues were interfering with treatment. Freud believed it was something that therapists needed to completely eliminate in order to maintain their objectivity. But as we know, since Freud, a lot of things in the mental health field have shifted. Turns out countertransference isn't something to be scared of. It's normal, it's human, and it will happen to every single therapist. When carefully explored and understood, countertransference can actually deepen the therapeutic alliance and provide important insights into the relational dynamics at play. When I first decided to study psychotherapy, I definitely had some fear and anxiety around what would happen if I was in the presence of a future client and I suddenly became emotional about something they shared, or maybe something they shared paralleled something that was going on in my own life. Maybe they expressed grief over the loss of a loved one and I had just experienced a loss of a loved one. How would I not be impacted by that interaction? And how was I to be able to keep composure in those situations and not allow my own feelings to interfere with the relational dynamics in the client session? So I didn't know there was actually a term to describe this phenomenon, or that it was something that was accepted as an inevitable part of the therapeutic relationship that is thoroughly examined and explored throughout your grad school curriculum. I have to say that it was a major relief that there actually is a word to describe this, and that I'm not alone in my worry or concern over something like this happening. And as an empath, while the most obvious potential experience of countertransference that often comes up for me is becoming overly emotional or impacted by something the client shares, countertransference can look and feel a lot of different ways. It can even mean that you become overly invested in wanting the client to like you, or viewing them as a friend rather than a client, and having the knee-jerk reaction to fix them or give them advice. So here's what I've learned so far, and here's what's helped me reframe the concept of countertransference. 1, countertransference is inevitable. We're humans, not robots. 2, the goal is not to not feel the countertransference. The goal is to notice it. 3, the experience of countertransference can actually be really useful data, like a clue that there's something in the room that needs attention. This concept is the reason that I believe we spend so much time in my grad school program focusing on building really solid self-care habits as future therapists. And yes, I realize the word self-care is so overused in pop culture these days, but in the field of mental health, it is absolutely essential to the work that we will be doing when we start to see clients on a daily basis. So even though I haven't even met with my first client yet, I'm already starting to think about how I want to handle it when this shows up. My plan in dealing with countertransference in the future is to honestly just stay really curious about my reactions. And then, of course, I can always utilize supervision and consultation to work through any issues I might not be able to work through on my own. Also, personal therapy is a huge part of working through countertransference, especially as a new baby therapist. And with that available at my fingertips, I always know that I have somewhere to go to work through any issues that might come up in a session with another client who deserves 100% of my presence and attention in those sessions. The main takeaway here is that countertransference isn't the enemy. It's actually a really good reminder that we're all human, and that by identifying countertransference when and where it happens, we can actually do something about it and then show up more fully for our clients in future sessions. Take that, Freud. So if you're a student therapist or a licensed therapist, I'd love to know how you've navigated the experience of countertransference in your experience. Please feel free to leave a comment and let me know all about it. Dear future therapists, I'm Gabriella, and I will see you in the next session.